Hey guys, Lauren Plant, mindset and performance coach. I just got off a killer interview with real estate agent, now broker, Zoe over at LG Fairmont. And we talk about the importance of choosing a good brokerage and what brokerages look for in real estate agents when they hire. And we get into a lot of nitty-gritty stuff. She's another like-minded individual who is really just trying to make a difference in the real estate space. And it's awesome. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Before we get into that, I'm just going to remind you that all of my information is in the description. A lot of resources and tools for you guys to utilize, along with a free discovery call with me if you're interested in coaching. And if you enjoy my channel and all of the information in it, along with this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. And I won't make you wait any longer. Let's check it out. All right, everybody, I have Zoe here, Zoe from LG Fairmont, and we're gonna ask her some questions about her journey and how she became a real estate agent into a broker manager. So, Zoe, how are you?
Hi, Lauren, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Why don't we start? Tell me how you got to where you're at now. Tell me a little bit about where you're at now and then how you got there.
Okay, so I am the president of sales and marketing at LG Fairmont. I jumped through a lot of hoops to get to that point where I'm at, and I kind of went in different directions to figure out exactly what it was that I wanted to do. But I think the base of my story always is that I've always gone with my gut, and I've always I seek happiness. That's my main priority.
Love that.
And I think that this position kind of encompassed all of that. I started off as a marketing director for in the diamond industry. I got there because I'm from Switzerland, and Switzerland is all about luxury. I was representing different watch brands at the time, and then I was hired by this company, and I ended up expanding the marketing department to become like a global department within the firm, which was really great. But I was just working way too much, and I wasn't happy. And then I kind of took a step back, and I was really lucky because my husband, who I wasn't married to yet at the time, was very supportive, and he told me take a year, take some time, think about what it is that you need to do. And that was really beneficial for me. And I did that, and I figured out that my obsession has always been New York City. And that's where kind of real estate came into play. I ended up working for CBRE, which is a commercial real estate firm, for a while in marketing. And I realized that marketing wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, although I still do that a little bit now. I wanted to do something that involved being around people more and having discussions. I love sort of sitting at the table with a glass of wine and, getting deep discussions with people, talking about every single aspect of the world and figuring out people's opinions. And I couldn't do that in marketing. And real estate is just amazing for that, because you get to meet people from all over the world, from different sectors too. I'm not only working with real estate agents, my clients are from everywhere, and, they work in banking or everywhere. So that was my main motivator when it came to real estate. And this position encompasses that, because I get to do sort of the salesperson thing, but I also get to manage, which are my two sort of favorite things. I'm kind of split with those two things. So that's how I got to where I am today. I think most of it just has to do with passion and sort of seeking to be around people that inspire me.
Yeah. So when you said, I feel like a lot of people get into real estate because they're in this self-discovery type of phase, kind of like where you were at. And you were like, okay, you got that space to figure out, okay, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? What steps did you take, and how did you figure out that that's kind of who you were? You didn't really want to be in the marketing space anymore. You wanted to really talk to people. How did you figure out that was really the direction you wanted to go?
So that started with my obsession of New York City. When I was growing up, all I wanted was to live in New York City. And we used to move around every 3 years. So I kind of never had that place that was my space where I felt like I was at home. And New York City always represented that for me. So it started with that. I ultimately believe that there is no job that is more like New York than a real estate agent in New York City.
Right. Right.
And yeah. And then um, uh, after that, it really had to do with just sort of this notion that I wanted to know people from different industries and just different places, and real estate really met that. I genuinely love connecting with people and connecting people together. And I think that real estate does that. You get to meet people like in the most intimate setting because you get to find their home and, you know, their like what will be their legacy. I think that that's like a really beautiful thing. So, you know, every single client that I work with, you know, they would tell you like, I'm very close to them because that's just part of the job. It's like, it's a wonderful thing. I don't know how many jobs in this world meet that. You know, it's right. Like my husband works in the pharmaceutical industry and he always tells me like, I'm so lucky because I get to meet people really from a very intimate level and they trust me, you know, and we trust each other and we work together, and it's like a really cool notion, I think.
Right. And I find that I mean, you and I have that in common, like a real deep desire to connect with other humans, and also a deep interest in like their behavior and the way that they are and what they do and how you can help them, knowing who they are. And we'll get into that, but I think that breeds a successful real estate agent, and you train lots of real estate agents, so you know a lot more about that as well. But how did you go from being a real estate agent to then managing a brokerage and now taking on all the marketing and stuff? Because that's a big switch.
Yeah, no, it is a big switch. I left LG Fairmont for a little while, and I kind of needed to figure out what was the right brokerage for me. And I think a lot of agents have that, right? You start somewhere and you feel like you outgrow it and you feel like the grass is greener on the other side. I definitely experienced that myself, and I completely understand when other people go through it. I think it's normal. But so basically I went to this other brokerage and it didn't pan out the way that I wanted it to. So I came back to LG Fairmont, and the reason why I came back to LG Fairmont at the time was because I realized the base for me was being around people that I felt I was, you know, I felt like a kindred spirit. I needed to be around people that made me feel like if I reached out to them, they would answer me. They were happy to speak to me. You know, we could grow together. And I couldn't find that anywhere else at the time. I went to a lot of brokerages, I interviewed, and I was trying to find something that would fit well with the direction that I was going into. And I realized there's a lot of things that I could do myself. You know, like marketing or, you know, getting leads, like those are all things that you can actually do yourself. You can change that, but the people that you're surrounded with, you can't really change that. So I came back to LG Fairmont and I, you know, speaking with Aaron, and we decided that we really work well together. So he hired me as a manager. And that's kind of where I started. And then, you know, 3.5 years later, I'm here.
And I felt like when you were explaining that to me before, when we were talking, like you closed, what was it, a $10 million deal at that last brokerage too? And you still, like, even though you did so much, I kind of got from it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like you weren't really appreciated. Like it wasn't that type of collaborative type of teamwork feeling that you felt at LG Fairmont. And that's what you held at a high value. Yeah.
I think that it's very, you know, taking a step back from a brokerage perspective with the experience that I've had. I think it's very difficult to create that collaborative spirit within a brokerage just because of the nature of the job, and mostly because it's very difficult to do. And I think, you know, it can be for different reasons. I think a lot of people don't want to make that effort. They want to find other solutions that might be easier. And I think a lot of people don't put the same value into things. I'm building at LG Fairmont today. I'm building a brokerage for the future of real estate. So whatever we're doing, we're not looking to just build upon what has already been done in the industry. Every agent that joins this firm is hopefully going to be here in the next 20 to 30 years and will have participated in making this industry better one way or another. So everything that I do really has to do with figuring out how I can work with this person on a long term, and how they can be as successful as possible and happy. Because ultimately, if they're happy, people continue working with you. Yeah. So that's like, I think that's the base of what we're doing, but it is difficult because there are a lot of easier solutions that are, in the industry. There's a lot of easier solutions that are just like the carrot is just like dangling in front of you. Right. So it's a lot, it is easier to just go in a different direction. And I completely understand that.
Well, that's the big thing is like, it sounds like what you're looking to go towards is sustainability. And that's a big deal, especially if somebody wants to be a real estate agent for a long time in the long run versus, people go into real estate really thinking about the money, all the money that they can make, and they get wrapped up in that almost like glitz, glam, money and all that stuff. And they don't really think about the long-term sustainability and what they truly need. And I find that to be a really big difference between the two, because I've got some agents that come to me who say, I'm like, why do you want to get into real estate? And they're like, I want to make a lot of money. And then other people are like, I want to help. I need support. I need guidance. I want to work collaboratively with people and I want to grow. And that's kind of the side that you're in versus like the big name and the money and the showing out and all of that versus the long-term sustainability and happiness, which is why I love your brokerage so much, because it's a big difference. That's a shift in the real estate industry. Like real estate, as you see on like reality TV and stuff, it's just broadcasted so much differently than what it actually can give you, which is like the self-development aspect, like the working with others aspect. There's just so much more to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that generally in society, we're always looking for sort of like the quick buck, like a quick success. And I think that especially when you're younger, because you haven't gone through, the time to understand how long it takes to actually get somewhere and be successful, it's very hard to fully grasp that until you start to experience it yourself. I've always believed that the best things in life come because of hard work. Right. And I think that a lot of people join this industry because, just as you mentioned before, they'll be watching $1 Million Listing or all of these TV shows, which have not helped us. And they think that it is just a lot easier than it actually is. But the fact of the matter is that all these agents that are on these TV shows had to work for a long time to get where they are.
Yeah, I see that.
So it's like a lot of people want to piggyback on other people's success in a sense, but they don't realize that that's what they're actually doing. When it comes to a brokerage it's agents. Mm-hmm. So, if as an agent, someone comes to me and says, listen, I want to become the next Frederick Eklund or Ryan Serhant, then let's work on it. Let's make it happen if that's your goal. But it needs to be something that you understand is going to take a long time. And you're going to have to go through that phase where you will do the non-glamorous, whatever lower end deals or whatever it is that you have to work on, whatever your perception is of non-glamorous, you have to go through that. It just is, it's the nature of it.
Yeah. There's no such thing as quick money in this industry if you want to build yourself a foundation and have long-term wealth, if you ask me. But yeah, and I like what you said, like you can definitely become whatever it is that you want, but in the best version of yourself. And that's why I think real estate's so cool, because you get to almost express that. Whereas in another career, a 9 to 5, it's like, you don't get to do that. You don't have that space. And that's where the word freedom comes from. And Shane and I were talking about that. It's like, it's not necessarily freedom of time because you're working 24/7, but now you have the freedom to express yourself and be who you want to be within this industry. And I think that's just so important. And you guys as a brokerage hold that space.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's a lot of hard work, but it's completely worth it. I think one of the most difficult aspects of this industry or, as the job as a real estate salesperson is that you actually have to look at yourself a lot. Yeah, exactly. A lot of it really boils down to what's going on in your head and how the effort that you are willing to make to sort of pull yourself out of your comfort zone and do the things that are required in order to be successful. And I think that especially, you see it, I see it from the managerial perspective. People are unwilling to do that for different reasons. And that's really what holds you back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I work so well with brokerages like you guys, because you guys provide such good training and you understand that aspect of it. But I work a lot on that type of emotional side of things, because it is the blocks, like the mental and emotional blocks, that keep you from executing in real estate. And like you said, we see it all the time. And that's why that failure rate, that new real estate agent failure rate, is so much higher, because it's just like, you have to get past those roadblocks, but they're really hard. And that's a good way to move into my next question, because the next one I had for you is like, what were the struggles that you went through to get to where you are now that you can really think of? Because there are so many of those blocks. And how did you get through those to push you to the next level, the next level, the next level?
I've always been somebody that was very eager to sort of look at myself and correct myself. So that's something that I wouldn't say that is one of my struggles. I think that is for a lot of people. And I'm fortunate that is not one of them. I think everybody has their own struggles. I sort of approach everything from a scientific perspective. I don't think that, I remove my ego, remove my position in this world. At the end of the day, we don't really mean anything, do we? you know? But I think that what I do with my time is entirely my choice. So I've consistently had this notion from a young age that every morning I get up and I'm lucky to have the time that I have, and I want to build something bigger and better. And that drive has really pushed me forward. Being a real estate agent really just worked with me. It was like found myself in this job. I found myself in the people I was hanging out with, and it really pushed me to become the person that I feel I am today. And, tomorrow I want to be an even better person. I think, I know this isn't the exact answer that you were looking for, but I do believe that we need to consistently be working on ourselves. There's a lot of people in this world that see that as a weakness, or don't want to confront certain things because they're just afraid of how it makes them feel, and it's a negative feeling at the time. I invite those feelings, and I would like to work on those. So every day it's almost like I'm looking for those feelings so that I can address them and try to make them better. And I think that that's a huge part of real estate. I think that that's something that if you really approach things from a scientific perspective, and you just think, what, my ego and who I am really isn't that important, because what I need to do is become the best possible version of myself.
Yeah.
I think that's really difficult, but it is something that I've always tried to work on. And that's something that's really helped me a lot with this career.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a quality I seek in agents too, when I'm coaching them or pointing them in the right direction of a brokerage, is like someone who's looking to get better every single day. Like, this is not just, you don't just get to decide every couple of months. You have this, you get all excited and you want to get going and be motivated. It's like, no, every single day you have to get up and you have to rip yourself out of bed even when you don't want to, and you have to do the job. And that's how you get somewhere. And that sounds like that's kind of how you got to where you're at now, with that type of mentality. Every single day I'm going to push past all of my blocks, push past all of my struggles, and continue to work on them. And like you said, invite those feelings. I thought that was really cool that you said that, because a lot of people will ignore those feelings. Okay, I'm lacking confidence. Why? Asking why is important, and inviting those feelings. Okay, what is it that's sitting with me and in my way of being more confident and being better in this area? And that's what takes people to the next level. And like you said, that side of things, that emotional side of things, that mental mindset side of things, is something that people like to avoid. And like you said, in society, it's just kind of been a thing, and real estate became all about money when it's not. A big part of it is self-development. It is
self-development. And I think it's most of it, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah. I always say,
yeah.
I say the same thing all the time. Like, a cold call is easy. making a cold call is easy. You can read the script, you can make the cold call, but it's getting yourself to do the cold call, calming yourself down with a clear mind and answering the questions in the right way that everybody gets so nervous about. And it's so anxiety provoking because it's just like getting on the phone is already nerve wracking to somebody.
Yeah.
Think about it. A phone call is just a phone call. It's just a conversation.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Right.
I think part of that comes with the title that we have too. Like the fact that I think our title doesn't justify the job. The fact we shouldn't be called a real estate salesperson.
Right.
Really, the most successful people in this industry are entrepreneurs. That's really what you have to, because you have to be somebody that is willing to make mistakes, to fall, to get up every day and just say, you know what, this happens. And at one point, I'm going to do it right. And that really is extremely important with this job. And that's what I try to discuss at my training. The base of my training always is, you know, co-op versus condo versus condo. Like that's very easy. You can learn that by heart. You can Google it. You know, I hope you Googled it because you really should be in that mind frame. But learning how to be in the right mind frame as a real estate agent or whether an entrepreneur is very difficult. And that's something that people seek out their entire lives. And there's a lot of people that are maybe not in real estate and they don't have to, in terms of their career, face themselves as much because their job is just a different type of job. But as a real estate agent, you actually have to get up every morning and think, you know, what did I not do yesterday that didn't bring me to where I want to be today? And that's really, it's entirely on you. It doesn't matter what brokerage you go to. That's entirely on you.
Right. Right. And that's huge. Because it's a lot of looking from the outside in. And it's like, what are my weak points? Like, is my perfectionism holding me back from allowing myself to fail and then fail forward? Because like you said, as an entrepreneur, we're all entrepreneurs. You do have to fall flat on your face multiple times to pick yourself back up and figure it out. And it's just, there's so many different things that when you decide to go from the outside and look in and say, oh shit, okay, I got to do this, and that, and I'm going to work at it every single day. And you're in a good place to do it. You're in a really good place to do it because now you kind of get to lead, stomp to the beat of your own drum in a way.
Yeah.
But also collaboratively with other people. So it's an interesting business. The next question I had for you is, what are the qualities that you seek in agents? Because you do the hiring at the brokerage. What are the qualities that you seek out in new real estate agents or even seasoned agents for you to join your brokerage?
So I think the first quality, as we've discussed this before, is somebody who is very proactive. I think that's the most important thing. You might not know a lot today, but you can know a lot tomorrow. It's up to you, right? To go learn. And I try to do that for myself. I try to explain that to agents, try to discuss this with agents and have like this open dialogue about that. I think that that's very important. Everything can be learned, but if you're not interested in learning, there's not much that we can do. I think the other thing that in particular in regards to LG Fairmont is very important is that we're really looking for people that see eye to eye with us in regard to our position within this industry. We want every agent that joins this firm to walk through the door and be 250% into this job, excited. You live, you breathe real estate. This is your lifestyle. That's what we need, because ultimately you can't be successful at this job if you're not obsessed with it. It really is, it is what it is. The best agents in the world are all completely obsessed with real estate. And we love that. We really enjoy this job. The agents love helping each other. And we've been able to foster that environment due to the fact that I really try to make sure on my end that everybody that walks through this door is excited, one way or another. Everybody has different forms of communicating that. But I try to find that common denominator with everybody. Because I just, I think that we can all learn. We can all learn from each other. And things can change. But if you aren't excited the minute you walk through the door, there's nothing much that we can do about that.
Right. Well, that must be difficult for you trying to maintain a certain energy within the office and within your company and then hiring different people and knowing every time you hire somebody, it's going to give a different type of energy, or you're adding to that atmosphere as you try to maintain this type of feeling. I almost can't explain it, because I know working in my brokerage, like it was so important back when I was in my agency that it was an upbeat, motivational type of atmosphere at all times.
Yeah. No, it is. It's really difficult. It also, this is also a job that's very stressful. So we go through a lot of moments where people are just stressed out and people aren't necessarily nice to each other. Mm-hmm. But I think the best way to approach it is almost like you're building a family. So we're going to go through moments where we disagree. Every single agent that walks through this door, I always tell them, if you don't believe at the end of this interview that you can walk through this door and yell at me because you're angry about something and you will be listened to and we will speak and figure out a solution together, then this isn't the right place for you. And I really think that that's what it boils down to. At the end of the day, we're all going to have our ups and downs, and, agents get in fights in the office, but if we can speak and be kind to each other and figure things out, then we will. And, it's just that idea of like people that aren't willing to communicate, or people that are also sometimes, we get bad reviews from clients about agents. Mm-hmm. We don't usually hold on to agents that aren't helping us grow in the right direction. We really look for a specific type of person that's just sort of in it and understands, this is going to be super difficult at moments, and sometimes it's going to be wonderful, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. And also, I like what you said about how, people can come to you and you'll support them even in their roughest moments, because you live by a set of morals and values, and that's what you bring to the table within the company. And like you said, you're there to support, you're there to guide them. And when they're having trouble, they should be able to come to you. And that's what a lot of agents are seeking. And they don't think that's really real, but it's out there. People are looking to actually help you grow within this industry, because it's been so taught, especially in New York City real estate, it's quite cutthroat. And I know, even working with people on the other end, it's just they'll cut you off, they hang up on you, they're not the nicest people. But getting in a brokerage that's supportive and supports your needs and will, like you said, help you grow in the upward direction as long as you're putting in the work.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that it has to do with a lot of things that have shifted, especially I think during the pandemic, a lot of things changed too. And the way that people, run business and think about things has changed a lot. Some of it has been wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I think that the industry is going to shift soon, because, we have a lot of new people coming in that are learning from scratch, and they have a different mind frame, and they've lived in a different world. And, this is the nature of every single industry, but in this industry in particular, there really is a space for that sort of next generation in real estate that's going to call, the other agent on the other side of the deal and understand, we're partners, we're working in this together. And I think that's going to change. And I want to make sure that our firm participates in helping that change happen.
Thank God. Thank God, because that's why, and like I said, I can't say it enough. That's why I do so much work with you guys and your agents, because it's just you guys understand that, one, you said it, this is a 24/7 job. This is your life. So why wouldn't you want to be happy within your career instead of get really caught up in the money, cutting people off, not working together, and just almost bulldozing through? It's a difficult and sad feeling. I've seen agents do it before where they're at the top, but they're miserable. Yeah. But it's when you take a step back, like you said, and work collaboratively, that's the part, that's a human need, human connection, enjoying one another and participating equally in this exchange and being grateful for the person on the other end. But also being discerning and saying, okay, is this going to work for me? Is this not going to work for me? Is this going to work for my client? And all of that, but being respectful. And I think it comes down to respect. And it's you're a real estate agent, they're a real estate agent. You guys both know you went through similar struggles. It's a hard industry. You go through this shit. So
and I think the last thing that we would ever want is for somebody to join the firm and feel like, 6 months happened and nothing happened for them. They didn't learn. Right. They didn't change as a person. Maybe you realize real estate isn't for you because this happens, but you should at least leave this experience knowing it isn't for me, but I've grown and I feel happier than I was before. We're really looking for that. And we don't have, like one of the rules for me always is if you're going to have a tough discussion, have that in person.
Right.
So, sometimes I have to have that discussion with people where I tell them, respectfully, I don't know if this is the right direction for you. And we have to have that, open discussion and really talk about it. And it's difficult to do that. And I think that for real estate brokerages, it's easy to not do that because of the nature of an independent contractor. It's easier to kind of turn around and just be like, you know what, this person's an independent contractor. I don't really owe to them to like give them that extra feedback or reach out. And we don't do that here. It's quite the opposite. So whenever I see that somebody is kind of floating, I try to address that as quickly as possible and figure out what the solutions are that we can offer them. And if we can't find a solution, then maybe the solution is elsewhere and there's no problem with that. But every person that, comes through, like walks through our door, I really hope that they, leave and they're happy if that's what they need to do because they figured out, okay, this isn't the right place for me, but something else is. Yeah. And I think that that's sort of, it's unfortunate because I've spoken to a lot of agents in the industry who have told me that they just don't feel like they're given that respect. They're not really listened to, and they don't feel like, it's not even that they're not listened to. It's almost as if they don't want to try reaching out because they just know it's not going to happen.
Right.
And that's sad at the end of the day. What are we here for?
Right.
It shouldn't, that shouldn't be something it shouldn't be happening in this industry. It's just too difficult for people to have to go through that alone.
I know. And I agree with you guys. And I know that, a big thing for you guys is like collaborating on teams and having teams in your brokerage was just really cool, which gives agents a really good chance to succeed. And I know firsthand from the clients I coach and the agents I send over that like the ones that really give it all and join you guys have them in contract within a month. And that just shows how much you guys want to see other people succeed, because some brokerages will hire agents and just say, do your thing. Good luck. Yeah. You sink or you flow. I don't care. I see it all the time. But you guys actually say, like, if you're going to join, I want you to join 110%. I remember you saying that to me one time and I was like, yes, exactly. Because you guys give so much energy, so much of your time, so much of your effort to make sure they get to where they want to go as long as they are willing. And that's what you really need in this industry. You need that willpower. You need that willingness. And like you said, that proactive type of personality and behavior. It's like, that's what you need to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah. There's also, there's a couple of points that every single person goes through at the beginning of their career. And there's pillars to happiness. And I firmly believe that if you go 6 months without making any money, it's very detrimental on your happiness.
Yep.
So we've created a system where anybody who really sort of fits in and really wants to build a career can make money as quickly as possible. Yeah. Because it's a necessity in order for them to be successful later. You can't become like a full-fledged, happy, successful real estate agent if you're making money once every 6 months. It's just not going to happen. So we try to make sure that we give all the tools possible for you to, go and contract quickly and join a team and speak to other people. The people that come to the office every day literally come here because they just want to listen to their colleagues and they want to ask questions. And we have open discussions about things. And sometimes it veers off and it goes into something we didn't initially want to speak about. But it's good that people feel that way. And I think that that's extremely important, is to address those pillars of happiness. And as a brokerage, if we can offer tools to help people get there, then that's what we need to do. And fortunately, we can. We have been able to do that so far. And we're constantly working on that. And those pillars are things that, we actively think about this every day. And we want to progress as a brokerage in helping people find happiness. Like ultimately for me, after 3 years at this job, you've closed enough where you feel like you're really an expert in the field. You're still learning, or maybe you're even teaching other agents things so that, you're learning yourself, but from a different perspective. And on top of that, you feel like you can go on vacation, you can hang out with your family and not have to worry that business isn't done properly, because you really have all the support that's put in place to just live like a very happy life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like as humans, that's what we're seeking at the end of the day. But it is, me having been a real estate agent too, it was like either happiness or money is what it was, either or. And that's what you start to, and even in society, like you can't have both. And it's like, that's not the case. It's like you can have both, and you can have both being a real estate agent in New York City, which for some reason was so hard for people to kind of like even believe to be true, because it's just the way society is and has taught us. And it's interesting. You have to either choose one or the other life. And you guys really brought all of your values together and said, no, we're going to make sure you have both.
Yeah, I think that's the more difficult route to go. And I think a lot of people don't really want to do that. They would prefer to find happiness quicker, but unfortunately it doesn't happen that way.
Well, because there's so much more work that goes into it. You can close deal after deal after deal, but it's like your energy is so important in this business, and you carry that along with the people that you work with and the clients that you have. And it just becomes a better life to live when you're both, but there's a lot more work that goes behind being happy and successful. If you want both, you have to really work through your blocks. You have to really work on the self-development. You have to really kind of take that internal journey that we all do eventually. And that's the hard stuff. Sitting with yourself, crying on the floor and saying like, I can do it. It's hard to see right now. And those are the moments you don't really realize becoming a big real estate agent. Like, I know I've cried plenty of times because I thought I couldn't, and then I always did. But it's hard. It's hard to do.
No, it is. I think a lot of people are uncomfortable in feeling small. Like it's an uncomfortable position for us to be in when we feel small. I have a tendency to actively seek to feel small. It's like, it's sort of this weird thing that I do. I like putting myself in positions where I doubt myself in order to see how I can get out of it.
Wow.
That's like one of the reasons why I love horseback riding so much, because like my horse, every time I get on her, she like proves me that I'm teeny tiny. She just like, last weekend, she just like ran off with me on her back for absolutely no reason at all. Yeah. And just that moment where that happened, I was reminded of how small I am. I'm just another person on this planet. And I actually really enjoy that feeling. And I think that that's something that comes hand in hand with real estate. If you're really somebody that is meant for this industry, you actually enjoy that feeling, because you realize, you know what, there's always going to be another broker that's better than me. There's always going to be somebody that has more listings than me or makes more money than me. But I actually enjoy that because it gives me a goal. It gives me something to like look forward to, right? And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't really think through. And then the other thing that I think is a very important point is that, unfortunately, the real estate agent has a bad connotation.
Oh, yeah.
So we just have this very negative in society. People look at us as, like the cheap salesperson.
You're already the bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're the bad guy. And it's very unfortunate, because some of the most sophisticated, smart, like coolest people I've ever met were in real estate. Mm-hmm. I think real estate agents, like people that are successful in this industry, are literally like the coolest people ever, because they're just so excited about life. Like you have to be like that. You have to be excited about every single day when you get up, because things can mess up so quickly. And you just need to sort of pick up and just get over it and, move on and come into the office and be like, shit just hit the fan, but I'm here, I'm doing it. And you need to be excited about it. And that is something that is very, very hard.
That emotional regulation is going to put you to the test for sure, because you're going to see the highest highs and the lowest lows. Like you'll have like 10 deals in, and then all of a sudden you've got two, and you're like, what happened? I was just having the best week of my life. And that's just life. I think that's just life being thrown up in your face through your career. It's just like, that's just what happens in life. Sometimes things go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. But how do you handle it? How do you pick yourself up when you're down? How do you maintain your stance on who you are and knowing like you'll get it back? That's the thing. It's just like when shit goes south, can you pick yourself back up? And that's where real estate, I think, makes you such a strong person. And I think that's where you find those really cool people, because they've been dragged through the mud and nothing can get them down because they've seen the worst of the worst, and they just know how to deal with it. And that's when you start to appreciate life a lot more. And that's when that happiness comes into play, and you just learn how to kind of roll with the punches. And you're just like, it is what it is. I know I'm a good real estate agent. Maybe I had a rough month, but next month I'll get it back. And that's it. You keep with that mentality. And I remember when I first started as an agent, like it was hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I kept saying to myself every day, every single thing I'm doing right now is going to bring me to where I want to go, but I just need to trust and believe that. And when you start to trust and believe in that journey of life, it's life, but it's also your career at the same time. And when you mix the two, that's just what it is.
It's also this belief that you will find a solution, right? Like that's one of the main things about real estate is you fall, you're going to trip all the time and really crappy things are going to happen to you. But at the end of the day, anybody who's been doing this for a while knows, you know what, we're going to find a solution. And that's sort of the tipping point, I think, where you actually become a very successful agent, because it's translated in your negotiations or the way that you speak to clients. You don't speak to them on a short-term basis. You speak to them on the long term, because, I might fight with this person in 2 seconds, but 5 minutes later, I'll find a solution and we'll move on to it.
Right.
And I think going back to like the bad reputation that we have, it's that idea goes kind of like hand in hand. Unfortunately, we're seen as short-term sort of salespeople, right? Like we're here for one transaction and that quick buck and that, whatever money we're going to make off of that. Every single deal that successful agents make are deals where basically I think the way they visualize it is that it's fluid, right? It's just, this is a client that I'm working with. It's a relationship. I'm helping this person build, their legacy or their future. I remember I closed this deal with like this wonderful client in my first year in real estate. And I gave his kids a painting of the townhouse that they just bought. And they, texted me a year later and they were like, these paintings like are just the cutest thing. We put them in their bedrooms and they sent me a picture of it. And I was just like, that is so cute. Right. And that's really, they're building the legacy of their family. And it's something that is not mentioned enough, how much we can help with that and how beautiful that is. I mean, that's an absolutely gorgeous thing to be able to do. And I think it's unfortunate, that we're kind of like cut short because of our reputation.
Right. And that's, like you said this earlier too, it's just like, it's human connection before it's even a transaction. And that's the goal. And it's just like the riches don't just come in the form of money. Like they come in the form of what you just said, like just creating that relationship and making a difference in somebody's life. Like, you found them their home and you got paid for it. But when somebody tells you like a year later, they still have something you gave them and they appreciate it so much, like that's another form of income. Like that's what lights up our soul and keeps us going. It's like, sure, the money is fantastic. And of course you need money to move forward, but also just those little things like people miss out on when they're only geared towards the money. And that's what makes a good real estate agent. Somebody who's really looking to holistically connect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the idea that money is sort of this separate element within our lives. Like you make money. And as you said before, there's happiness and there's money. Actually, the two of them come together, right? How you decide to spend your money will bring you to happiness. Exactly. And they're linked together. And we're very lucky to be able to experience this moment with people that is so full of emotion where they're purchasing something that is literally going to change their lives. The house, I bought my first apartment within the first year that I was in real estate. And of course, I got help with my husband, but we bought our first apartment. We're about to close on our third home now. We're going to buy a couple more houses in the next up and coming years. And I think about it, and I think about my daughter. And if something were to happen to me, I know that when she turns 18, she'll already have wealth, which for me is translated in happiness, because she'll have these homes that she can rely on. And that's what I'm building up for myself, for my family. And I look at my clients, and that's what I see that they're doing. And I think that that's just, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to experience. And once you understand that this job is linked to that, so it's linked to, how you invest in the stock market and what you're doing with your money, all of it comes full circle. And if you really delve into every single aspect of it and you try to understand things, or at least figure out who you can connect your clients to so that they can understand things further, you can become this educator who can really affect people's lives. And you can bring them down a direction that, they never thought that they would go into because they just simply hadn't thought about it. And suddenly you're bringing in these new ideas. And I think that's just it's amazing. It's my favorite part of the job.
Yeah. And just hearing you say it, you can hear how passionate you are about it. Having gone through this whole interview now, like hearing you say that and your mindset and where you're at totally aligns with where you're at in your position, managing and training the new agents, and just how passionate you are about growing this industry in a positive direction where you're successful and happy. And that's it's almost like the mission statement, it sounds like. And that's so incredible, because you don't get to hear that every day in any industry, but especially in real estate. And as we change the trajectory, I know that's a big mission of mine too. It's just nice to know that there's other people out there and people are doing this. And like you said, I think COVID did play a big factor. Everybody had a lot of time to sit with themselves, and they're like, well, there's a little bit more to life, right? Especially New York City took a big backflip, but it's huge. So I have one last question, and this will be for all the real estate agents that are listening. What do you think some of the most important things real estate agents can do to be successful in this industry? I know we kind of spoke on some, but if you can really narrow it down.
I think the most important thing, which is a lot more difficult to put into action than people think, is to understand that every single person you speak to is building that web. So every single time you connect with somebody, whether it's you go downstairs to the restaurant and you order food and you speak to someone for 5 minutes, that person could become your client. And the thing that is really difficult about that in real estate is that you become very self-aware in the sense that you understand, the way that you dress just to go downstairs to the restaurant actually could change your day, right? It could change what happens to you in terms of your career. That's something that a lot of people start off with, and they come to me and they say, how do I prospect? How do I do this? Because they don't even know where to start with this. And any successful real estate agent is somebody that will literally go to the playground, sit down, and just start chatting with people about real estate. Mm-hmm. And once you get the gist of that and you understand it, things become very easy. Learning things and learning about how to, pass the board interview, all of these things, those are easy things that you can learn. You can figure that out. But learning how to connect with people properly and coming off in the right way, in the way that you want to, and actually taking control of that narrative is something that a lot of people just don't even know where to start with that. So I think that one of the most important things to consider if you're starting with this job in this career or this lifestyle is to consider the fact that every single person you speak to could potentially, change the direction that your career goes into, and understand how to bring those people together and make something out of those relationships, whether it's for your job or for yourself personally, or wherever, which direction you go into. With experience, one of the things that I've really learned, which I didn't know how to do this before, was understanding how important every conversation with a person is and how far you can go if you're curious and you're proactive and you ask questions and you kind of put, like your ego to the side and you just admit, I don't know everything. So let me speak to this person. Maybe I can learn something from them. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to connect with people that way. And people will come to you because they perceive you as someone who wants to be part of their life. And when you put that web together, you bring in clients without making an effort because they'll call you. Mm-hmm. They'll come back to you. I have so many clients at this point that come back to me every single year and purchase homes, and I don't have to reach out to them anymore. That's, you think about that on the long term. You start off, you don't have a pipeline, you're building up your pipeline, but every person you speak to could be part of that pipeline. Everybody lives somewhere in New York, right? We all live in an apartment. So considering that and just really working on that from the beginning and how you come off to other people, how you dress, how, do you smile? All of these things are things that you need to look at and think about because, you never know. Maybe that person you're sitting next to in the subway is looking for a $3 million apartment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the importance of, and I know you and we both do a lot of reading because I always see you sharing your books. I'm always sharing my books. And I think that's another important thing is like, don't forget about you. Don't forget about your inner work every single day, because again, like you've got nothing to pour, you've got nothing to give if you're nothing for yourself. Right. And just work on yourself every single day. Make sure you gain knowledge and do the things that you like to do, whatever it takes that keeps you happy too, even outside of work. And you're going to be able to share all of those moments with people who, like you said, you can create that web with, and they can be a part of your life, or they can give you a referral, or they can be your client, or they can just be a good connection just to have, and just a good person in your life. And everything's always an experiment too, because whenever you're meeting new people, you get to learn more about different people and different behaviors. And there's so many different people that you're going to work with and you're going to go through in this industry, good or bad, but that's the beauty of it. You get to look at everybody differently and say, wow, that's interesting the way they see this or the way they see that, even if I don't see it like that. And there's always something you can benefit from everything. And I think that I have a lot of real estate agents who say to me, they're like, yeah, but is it gonna, like, am I wasting my time? Am I wasting my time? Well, not if you're meeting people, not if you're getting out there, and not if you're moving with the right intention. It'll all come together. And I know that the most successful real estate agents when they're at the top of their career is when they're, like you said, just getting those referrals. People are just texting you, they're just popping up. And it's in free flow. And that's the point you want to get to ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that was really awesome. Thanks for answering all my questions. And honestly, your mindset, everything, I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing at your brokerage and how you're just willing to help and give and grow with people. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, or they can connect with you on social media, your Instagram handle?
My Instagram handle is at Zoe Kellerhals. Mm-hmm. And if you want to connect with me, the easiest way is to just give me a call at 917-420-1204. I firmly believe in the phone conversation. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Zoe.